Ask any American why they want to visit Japan, and I can guarantee a high percentage of answers will be, I want to go to 7-Eleven. In a world where you could fly 12 hours to visit beautifully historic Kyoto or attempt to climb to the summit of Mount Fuji in order to watch the sunrise, most people are more than willing, in fact even excited, to purchase a $1,000 economy class, maybe middle seat plane ticket to eagerly eat the same food additives that we have here that are just rearranged in much more cute and interesting ways. That's right, Japan does have food additives. They even still have red dye number 3, which was recently banned in the US in the wintertime of 2025. A lot of 7-Elevens in the US are being influenced to mimic those of in Japan. Where else is the culinary cuisine defined so much by novelty and packaging? No one here waxes poetic about a hot dog on a roller. Actually, when I think about it, we're gonna put a pin in the hot dog on a roller thing. But we must ask ourselves, and we must beg the question, why is Japanese 7-Eleven so appealing to us? So the obvious answer is novelty. You're gonna say hydroxide, duh, people want to go to 7-Eleven. They want to go to a familiar place to try foods that don't exist in their country. Yes, I get it. I would say, yes, of course. But no other country in the world has the same grip on the Western mind in terms of specifically, and I mean specifically, processed foods. When you travel to France, novelty food there in our American eyes is croissants and escargot. Novelty in Germany is a Wiener Schnitzel and maybe just like a rock-hard pretzel. And yet, most people's culinary highlights on their Japan trip are the snacks that they can find in the convenience store. As a food scientist, I find this kind of funny and kind of cool because Japan is a country that uses a lot of food additives. Like I mentioned earlier, they still use red dye number 3 there, despite the fact that they are one of the world's healthiest populations. I never hear the food chemical bad dissenters mentioning that they're healthier because, well, it's because they don't have chemicals over there. They actually do. And I think what's so great about the popularity of Japanese 7-Eleven is that tourists embrace these long formula and ingredient lists as a feature and not a bug. Maybe that long list of ingredients ends up kind of legitimizing the product in its own way. I was lucky enough to visit Japan when I was in high school, and I remember being absolutely dazzled by this soft serve that you could just pick up from the ice chest in 7-Eleven and pop off the top and eat it. I went back knowing I had to get it again and with a greater knowledge of how food products are made. There's something kind of funny and ridiculous about it, but now that I look at it, I'm so interested in the formula, the patent, what technology was used to make it this way, and I wonder what the creative mindset was behind it. In terms of the actual physiological perspective, the ice cream itself is softer. I suspect it has fewer milk solids and overall lower fat content. It tastes more like a cold sweet cream rather than an ice cream, if that makes sense. It's like a frozen version of the cream in sweet cream sandwiches that you can pick up. Another element of novelty in Japanese 7-Elevens is the incorporation of whole foods into processed foods. When you really think about it, something like an onigiri is like super ahead of its time. In the US, on-the-go snacking is still defined by bars. An onigiri combines whole foods like rice and seaweed with something processed like canned tuna to make something that is perfectly portable, eatable, and truthfully an arguably healthy choice for convenience store snacks. To us Americans, 7-Eleven is a road trip paradise, or if you were like me, a place where you went when you were 15 as you and your friends walked around a car-centric town for like 2 hours in like 45-mile-an-hour areas just to get a Slurpee. Unlike the US, in Japan, especially for tourists, walkability is still king. When we think of convenience store foods, we often think about foods that don't have to be put on a plate or we don't have to use any silverware. It's food that you can just peel back from the package and eat while driving in your car with your Stanley next to you, straw open to be slurped at any point in a traffic jam. Since you're usually on foot as a tourist, there's actually a moment to prepare your foods in a way that goes beyond the traditional convenience store dining experience. If you buy ramen, there is hot water there in the store that you can use to prepare it. If you want to get a cold drink, you can get a cup of prepared ice and then add in the flavor units that you want. I tried doing this and I forgot to remove the plastic lid on top, and I felt like an absolute dummy when the worker had to come save me, and then I cried because I was really tired and really overwhelmed. Even though it's convenience food, the American mind could never fully comprehend adding an extra, almost sensual step to their drugstore run to get Red Bull and zine packets. I'm a big believer in being ritualistic. I think there's like a special magic to putting hot water in your morning cup of tea or coffee, and I think adding an extra prep step is almost like too glamorous for the American mind to even comprehend. This gesture of preparing your own meal is something lost when we have to get back into our 2008 Toyota Corolla. Earlier, I stated that I could never imagine someone waxing poetic about a hot dog on a roller, but that is, of course, if you want to participate in Costco erasure. The hot dog itself is not the draw to Costco, it's the price and the experience because of that price. There are people literally making a living and a name for themselves just off of being obsessed with Costco. This is what Costco and Japanese 7-Elevens have in common. They have a vibe, and most importantly, they do it at a low cost. The limited possibilities are actually what makes the culinary experience exciting. Am I getting the pizza today, or am I getting the hot dog today? It's kind of an exciting choice for you to decide each time you go to Costco. Plus, the cultural agreement of, if you raise the price on this, I'll kill you, definitely adds to the customer allegiance and the perception of this product. I see this all the time with the Arizona green tea CEO as well. It's a product that shows that the big shots in this world still look out for the little guy, and that almost makes you want to support them even more. You can get a hearty snack or even a lunch at Japanese 7-Eleven for a very low price. Sure, you might be getting a cup of ramen noodles and a rice ball, both of which are not necessarily expensive gourmet items in the eyes of the culinary world. The fact that you traveled across the world to try a snack that costs less than $3 is the current quintessential culinary experience, especially when you're seeking authenticity. It's not within the walls of a restaurant. The experience of culinary memories goes beyond what's on the menu. The American argument that all the food is poison and that food additives and chemicals are evil is growing more like an increasingly subjective opinion when you're able to arrange these additives in a more creative way. Do we actually hate food additives, or are we just bored by our lack of options? In this case, maybe we should think about waxing poetic over food dyes and chemicals. I mean, if Red 40 disappeared from the ether tomorrow, I think we would all be pretty sad at the sight of anemic hot Cheetos. Japanese convenience food begs the question, why can't we be more creative with our processed foods? Why can't we encourage novelty from companies that have the capacity and for sure the money to do so? And how did we become so unimaginative that repackaging olive oil or sardines in cuter containers is the new cool way to eat food? The joy of food is often in its simplicity. Spending less than a few hundred yen on a good rice ball might be as close as you can get to culinary bliss. On that note, the last thing I have to say is the boom can only be brought if you're willing to do it.